I've been grappling with emotions recently and found this platform to be a release. My name is Travis, 32 years old. I'm here to recount my tale of marital breakdown. Married to Lauren, who is 5 years younger, I adored her excessively and allowed her freedom until she committed an act intolerable. Regrettably, it was necessary for me to instill a lesson she would never forget. Her action was inexcusable and deserved retribution. Making the decision was tough, but I understood that leniency would only reinforce such behavior. Despite the agony it inflicted on me, I recognized that infidelity was an unacceptable act in any partnership. 9 months ago, I met Lauren at a friend's gathering. Her charm immediately caught my eye, prompting me to ask my friend for an introduction so we could chat. Once introduced, she proved to be easygoing, and our conversation flowed easily. She shared her love for freedom and adventure, and her clear-cut goals intrigued me further. I found myself drawn to her, and she made me feel like no one ever had before. As we continued meeting, my admiration grew, eventually leading me to realize that I couldn't stop thinking about her. Dear friends, if you enjoy this story, please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. Despite my friend's warnings about her turbulent personality and multiple boyfriends, I chose to disregard their advice. Trusting my intuition, I believed that she reciprocated my feelings. It had only been half a year since I met Lauren, yet deep within me, I was certain she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I whisked her away on a getaway to a secluded island, where I'd meticulously planned an exclusive setting just for her. One enchanting evening during our sunset drinks, I seized the moment to propose, sensing the occasion was ideal. Overwhelmed and filled with joy, she accepted my proposal without hesitation. She embraced me tightly, tears streaming down her face, sharing that this day had been the best in her life thus far. Our lavish wedding left townspeople talking for nearly a month. Everywhere we went, our wedding was a hot topic. The media coverage of our event was extensive, with various news outlets and social media platforms abuzz about our romantic fairy tale. The love tale between us stirred curiosity and admiration among many, prompting a desire for inclusion in our joyous union. Strangers would often approach, expressing their congratulations and well wishes, leaving us feeling immensely blessed and grateful for the overwhelming display of affection and support. On the day of our wedding, Lauren and I opted to maintain separate living spaces to preserve our personal belongings. While we chose to share a bed at night, we agreed to live independently throughout the day. Aware that our acquaintance was brief prior to marriage, we mutually decided to continue our lives as they were before, finding room in our new life for solitude and self-discovery until we could establish a balance between our individuality and union within marriage. We recognized the significance of preserving our uniqueness and personal passions even within the sacred bonds of matrimony. By allowing ourselves the freedom to pursue personal hobbies and aspirations, we thought it would fortify our bond and facilitate growth for both of us individually and as a couple. We seldom disrupted each other's schedules or closely monitored one another. Mainly engrossed in my business, additional responsibilities would have been inconvenient. I placed trust in Lauren to take care of herself and inform me if she required assistance. This degree of faith and self-reliance within our relationship enabled us to nurture each other's personal development while maintaining a harmonious equilibrium between our separate lives and shared existence. It also engendered a feeling of liberty and autonomy, cultivating profound respect and admiration for each other. We recognized that prioritizing our well-being was instrumental in fostering the resilience and contentment of our union. To commemorate our marriage, Lauren desired a celebration with her friends. In response, I meticulously arranged a 5-day cruise for 5 of her dearest companions. I opted against joining them, as their presence might have caused discomfort. I was content to oblige any request from my wife, provided I could afford it, for her joy was all that mattered to me. I believed that granting her the freedom to revel in this unique moment with her friends would elevate the occasion's significance for her. Moreover, I trusted that she would relish the experience and create enduring memories with her cherished companions. Post our marriage, Lauren persisted in her behavior attending parties, returning home heavily intoxicated and retiring to bed. One evening, I made her pause and asked if there was an issue causing such actions. She admitted that this new phase of life felt overwhelming for her and needed time to acclimate. She explained that she didn't grow up with the same advantages as I did, making our current situation daunting for her. I made an effort to grasp her perspective and provided her additional time to acclimate to life as a wealthy man's wife. It's been nearly 3 months since our wedding, yet Lauren hasn't warmed up and continues to have her own bedroom. She showers me with affection, and we share passionate moments, but something still seemed amiss in our bond. Regardless of the emotional connection and intimacy we shared, a pervasive emotional gap persisted between us. I couldn't help but ponder if there were more complex factors underlying Lauren's reluctance to fully trust me and maintain her separate space. I wished for her to place her faith in me entirely and feel as at ease as possible, considering this was her home and she belonged here. Pondering over whether to discuss my dissatisfaction and worries about our relationship with Lauren, I wondered if she'd respond positively and attempt to understand my perspective. After a week, I planned to talk to her in a heart-to-heart manner about our feelings and alignments. I decided this would be the most considerate approach, minimizing potential hurt. One day, I arrived home early to collect some documents for an upcoming meeting. Noticing Lauren was absent, I presumed she was with friends. Just as I intended to retrieve my papers from my room and depart, curiosity prompted me to explore her room. Perhaps I'd discover insights about her hidden there. I searched for a diary or journal, but found a lipstick instead, which fell onto the floor. As I bent down to pick it up, a paper caught my eye beneath the dresser. Upon finding it significant, I attempted to retrieve it. It turned out to be a private event invitation, specifically for a party celebrating Lauren. Detailing further, I discovered that this gathering was orchestrated by a band of gentlemen. A detail on the bottom caught my eye. It read, "For the most beautiful woman the world has ever known, deserving the affection of every man." The venue listed was a secluded villa owned by one of my business rivals. Curiosity piqued, I resolved to attend and uncover its purpose. En route, I reached out to Lauren to confirm her whereabouts. She mentioned she was attending a sleepover at a friend's house and would return home the following evening. Given that she had always enjoyed autonomy under my watch, I trusted Lauren wouldn't deceive me. I merely sought confirmation that she wasn't attending this party. I had a feeling that something suspicious was happening at this party, and I needed to uncover the truth. Upon arrival, I parked my car outside, noticing there was no one at the gate. Assuming entry wouldn't be an issue, I proceeded inside. A boisterous, ear-splitting music met my ears, and numerous cars were lined up along the path leading to the villa. Lauren's car was among them, suggesting she was indeed at the party rather than her claimed whereabouts. Reluctant to ring the bell, I chose instead to walk along the wall, scoping for open windows from which to observe. After a short while, I spotted an open window with blinds drawn back slightly. Cautiously peering through, I saw groups of men standing with drinks, their laughter drowning out the details of their conversation due to the excessive noise. Deeply focused on unraveling the mystery, I failed to notice the unusual attire of the men present. Most were half-clothed, some bare-chested, others wearing only underwear. They all seemed fixated on something below them, which was obscured from my view. Puzzled by Lauren's presence at such a gathering, I considered leaving when something rose from the floor. It was Lauren, standing amidst the men, with her hands on her breasts and clad only in panties. Paralyzed, I felt devoid of sensation. Just as I thought this might be the most disturbing sight of the day, one man leaned in to kiss Lauren. She responded by laughing at them, and their hoots escalated. Overwhelmed with fury and indignation, I resolved to rescue Lauren. A flash of inspiration struck me, causing me to slow my pace towards the door. Returned to the window, I began jotting down those attending the party, which included 6 rivals in business and inevitably Lauren. Fuming with anger and frustration over what I might have done had I taken Lauren away, I resolved not to let these men ridicule me due to her presence. Determined to leave them be, I decided to carry on with their activities. I recognized the necessity of devising a plan to humiliate all six and teach Lauren a lesson. Exiting the villa, I sped towards my car, consumed by the chaotic scene unfolding behind me. I showered Lauren with everything she desired and more, yet she continued to seek gratification in extreme measures. I could not fathom her reasons for such actions. Pondering over why she chose this path would yield no benefit. Consumed by thoughts of retribution against Lauren and the men enjoying themselves at my wife's expense, I seethed with anger and betrayal. A fiery desire for revenge fueled my plans to make them face the consequences of their actions and restore my sense of justice. As my fury escalated, I swore I would ensure they paid dearly for meddling with me. The following evening, Lauren returned home as promised. I waited at home to observe her behavior after her betrayal. Remarkably calm and composed, she seemed almost nonchalant despite her infidelity with not just one, but six men. I pretended to act casually and asked about the sleepover. She replied that it was enjoyable and she had a lot of fun catching up with friends. I bided my time until she was ready for bed, planning to enact my revenge. After arriving next to me, I shared with Lauren that I was going on a 2-week business trip requiring a personal secretary. I'd already hired someone named Catherine, who would take care of me during my absence. I summoned Catherine in the living room to introduce her to Lauren. Lauren greeted and welcomed her warmly. I requested Lauren to get some rest as I had some matters to discuss with Catherine. She mentioned she was exhausted, understandably so, given her recent activities involving 6 men. It must have been quite tiring indeed. Lauren didn't seem overly enthusiastic about my attention towards Catherine, but she had no other option than to agree. As we walked away in opposite directions, I touched Catherine's back and made sure Lauren observed the gesture. I spent approximately an hour with Catherine outlining her responsibilities. Hired specifically to provoke Lauren and sow seeds of doubt in her mind regarding my relationship with Catherine was I. My intention was for Lauren to confess voluntarily about her secretive behaviors. Upon entering our room the following morning to avoid tardiness for our meeting, Catherine unexpectedly found herself there too. Taken aback by Catherine's presence in our room, Lauren queried. In a hurry before any further inquiries, I informed Lauren of my absence for the next fortnight. Concurrently with this departure, Catherine and I departed from home, whereupon I remained at a hotel for the ensuing 2 weeks and monitored Lauren's activities. Moreover, I aimed to collect comprehensive information on all men present at the party, ensuring ample evidence of their actions to be prepared for any eventuality and deploy them judiciously. While residing at the hotel, I thoroughly recorded any questionable encounters or activities involving Lauren, along with possible associations she might have held with the 6 men from the gathering. In a covert manner, I gathered both professional and personal data from these individuals, as they couldn't simply escape the consequences of their antics concerning my wife. To scrutinize these men further, I employed a private investigator to compile reports detailing their personal and professional relationships. Since Lauren was an exceptional case, I opted to monitor her myself. My intention was to observe her actions during the 2 weeks when I wasn't present. I anticipated that she wouldn't be foolish enough to invite any lovers to our residence. At noon, she departed from home. I trailed her vehicle to ascertain with whom she would meet. She pulled into a hotel and encountered Matt Ryan, my chief rival. After having lunch together, they exhibited laughter and friendly smiles towards each other. On multiple occasions, I noticed Ryan's hand resting on Lauren's thigh. She made no attempt to ward off his touch. Post-lunch, Ryan led her to his car and escorted her to his villa, a destination I had anticipated their visit to, thus choosing not to trail them further. Prior intel from my private investigator had supplied some details about Matthew Ryan. I managed to obtain his fiancée's contact information. I found myself in a phone booth dialing her number and informing her that Matthew had a surprise planned for her, instructing her to meet him at this specific address. After providing the address, I waited patiently for her arrival. True to form, she appeared after 40 minutes and swiftly entered. The security guards, bribed prior, allowed her access, while an open door indicated no need for locking it. Matthew's fiancée, anticipating a delightful surprise, was unprepared for the shock that awaited her within. Upon entering, she beheld Matthew in a compromising position with an unfamiliar woman. She shouted at Matt, hurled the engagement ring towards him, and stormed out of the villa, fuming. Matt pursued her, trying to convince her of her mistake, but she stuck to what she had witnessed. She threatened not only to call off the engagement, but also to withdraw all her investments in his business. I watched from my car, amused by the spectacle unfolding before me. I thought to myself, one down, four more to go. Just like the previous cases, I had gathered evidence of their infidelity or caught them red-handed, and this usually resulted in them losing their investments or facing heavy alimony payments for cheating. I still had a surprise in store for Lauren. I sent out invitations to all the men, inviting them to a party at a new location so they could lift their spirits in these trying times. I also extended an invitation to Lauren from all of them, implying that she was the only woman who truly understood and never judged them. This gathering was to honor the connection they all had with her. I ensured that the villa was prepared and ready for the event prior to its commencement. Each guest arrived punctually for the festivities. Before entering the villa, everyone surrendered their phones at the entrance. This was a part of my strategy to isolate them from the outside world. Lauren entered wearing a provocative red backless dress that I had presented her with. I couldn't help but chuckle at her audacity to don something I had given her for her own pleasure, seemingly without an ounce of remorse while engaging with other men. I equipped cameras throughout the villa, including the bathrooms, as I didn't want to miss any moment of the action. The event began with music and drinks. Gradually, they started dancing and kissing each other. As the party progressed, I shared the live stream link of this gathering with all the relevant companies. The live broadcast began playing on every TV screen in both my company and the invited guests' companies. I had collected all their phones and kept them in the control room during the event. As the party unfolded, their phones started ringing, some from their superiors and some from their families and friends, informing them they were being live streamed and filmed. I muted everyone's phones and indulged in the show, munching on a bucket of popcorn. Over the past 2 weeks, my observations of Lauren made it clear that she never genuinely cared for me. She merely associated with me for my wealth and the perks associated with being my spouse. In hindsight, I would not have been displeased by her affinity for money. That was acceptable. However, what I couldn't stomach was her attempt to deceive me under the guise of a faithful partner. To be frank, I could have tolerated it, but what I found unacceptable was her pretense of loyalty. Not only did she engage in an affair, but the individuals involved were those I'd periodically cross paths with. Each encounter, when they approached me about business matters, would stir feelings of inferiority as I sensed their joy at secretly being with my wife. This wasn't something I could tolerate. Exposing Lauren, and by extension, warning all these men of their ill-advised actions towards me, seemed the right move. I gathered all footage from the party and departed, leaving a message for her indicating my arrival tomorrow. The cameras continued to capture them entwined in bed, bare and intertwined. Several men even rose early and left, with Lauren being the last to go. Upon seeing the message on her phone, she hurriedly vacated, making her way home. After providing ample time for her to return home, freshen up, and prepare, I arrived accompanied by Catherine. Ignoring Lauren completely upon seeing her, I focused my attention on Catherine instead. Lauren stood silent and then angrily stamped her foot before departing. The plan for retribution seemed to be succeeding. It had been 2 days since my return from the business trip, during which I've been deliberately avoiding Lauren. I knew that all her lovers were occupied with legal matters and could not contact her soon. Lauren remained oblivious to the commotion caused by the footage as it was blocked from her contacts. Over time, I ensured that Lauren felt neglected and unwelcome in her own home, with Catherine making all the decisions regarding the household. Catherine was informing the cook about my breakfast preferences and the type of diet I would be adhering to. When Lauren attempted to correct her, she merely smiled, informing Lauren that I had altered my tastes and was prepared to abandon past habits while giving her a sharp look. Later, Lauren voiced her concerns to me, stating that Catherine was asserting control over the household and meddling in matters for which she had no authority. I advised her not to exaggerate the situation. In truth, Catherine was adept at managing such affairs and performing them effectively. Nevertheless, Lauren remained annoyed, feeling that Catherine's participation was unwarranted and intrusive. I secretly hoped that Lauren would blame me for infidelity so I could use reverse psychology on her. The following day, I informed Lauren that I wanted her to socialize with her friends, as I had arranged a club where she could invite them to enjoy themselves. Over the past few days, I recognized that she felt somewhat uncomfortable at home. With my work keeping me late into the night, I allowed her to spend time with friends and return home later. This would likely brighten her mood. Concurrently, someone was following her and providing hourly updates on her whereabouts, as trust was not something I could offer easily. My intention was to keep her away from the house so I could arrange an exciting evening for her. Unbeknownst to her, tonight would be a night she'd always remember. As I painstakingly orchestrated every detail, anticipation swelled within me, eager to gauge her reaction to the surprise I had prepared. Around midnight, Lauren arrived home, visibly intoxicated. Upon entering the living room, she stumbled upon me seated on the couch with Catherine in my lap. She struggled to comprehend the situation. She approached us, shouting, "What in the world is happening here?" I met her gaze, smiled, and invited her to join me. Her expression turned disgusted, and she demanded that Catherine move from my lap. As Catherine began to rise, I instructed her to stay put. Lauren was boiling with rage. She declared that she was aware of the situation between the two of us. From the moment Catherine arrived, she had known that Catherine was not merely my personal assistant. I returned her accusation with a smile, implying that she dared to blame me for infidelity when she herself was engaged in the same behavior. I requested Catherine to leave us and walk towards the home theater. Lauren followed closely behind me, taking care not to stumble, and stood next to me. I activated the TV, and something began playing on it. Though she didn't comprehend initially, as she continued watching, she grasped the content I had displayed on screen. The color drained from her visage upon recognizing the video was from her night filled with multiple men. Disbelief clouded her gaze as she struggled for words, only managing to stare fixedly at the screen. Eventually, she inquired about the source of the recording. I chuckled at her question, amused by her lack of defense. Casually, I admitted to having recorded it myself. Her eyes widened with shock as she digested my statement. Struggling for words, she stammered in an attempt to explain herself, but failed. An awkward silence ensued as the gravity of her actions filled the room. Guilt and regret were palpable on her face. It was evident that she had been exposed and was speechless. She was now grappling with being unmasked. I settled on the couch, eagerly continuing to watch the video. She alternated glancing at the screen and at me, unsure if I was upset or amused by the events unfolding. I began to offer my thoughts on the screen's content. I informed Lauren that I admired what she had done with one of the guys. It was an aspect of her I appreciated greatly. I gestured for her to move next to me so we could scrutinize the entire recording together. With no other option, she sat beside me and watched, her head down in embarrassment. By then, she recognized her mistake was significant. As the video played, I couldn't help but see the discomfort on Lauren's face. It was apparent that she regretted her actions and understood the repercussions she would endure. I made her watch 2 hours of footage and told her it was enjoyable. I hadn't realized she had such close friends who felt at ease around her. She remained silent, offering no defense. Her apology began in a small voice. She admitted that she had been seduced by numerous men who persuaded her into a dare involving spending a night with them. She confessed that she couldn't allow a handful of men to triumph over her, and that was why she attended the party. I found her quick-wittedness in concocting this story quite remarkable. I feigned agreement, allowing her to believe I accepted her tale. I sought to engage her further to assess her talent for fabrication. I suggested that perhaps she felt cornered by these men, but she could have used the pretense of being my spouse to escape the predicament. She asserted that she didn't want to tarnish my reputation, and thus chose not to disclose her identity. Her story-weaving abilities left me astounded. The effortlessness with which she was deceiving me was incredible. Pretending to empathize with her as the victim in this situation, I led her to the dining table under the guise of offering her a glass of water. I had her settle on a chair and set the glass onto a sheet of paper. Upon grabbing the glass, she spotted the paper. It was the exact invitation she'd concealed under the dresser. The vessel slipped from her grasp, fracturing into pieces. In that moment, she realized there was no point in concocting lies because I already knew every action she'd been undertaking. Overwhelmed with sobs, she collapsed to the floor. Tears were her sole form of salvation. She had nothing else to say. Unable to counter my accusations, she couldn't justify why she had resorted to such extreme measures. After confronting her and forcing her confession, I evicted her from our home because there was no place for a deceiver like her, neither in my heart nor in our house. She pleaded with me to give her another chance, but I vowed never to repeat the mistakes of the past. She claimed that she wasn't thinking clearly and had succumbed to temptation. All of them were affluent, making it hard for her to refuse their advances. I resolutely maintained my position, understanding that forgiveness wasn't an available choice. It was a hard call, yet I comprehended its importance for my personal well-being and self-respect. In the future, I resolved that if I were to develop feelings for another person, I would indeed scrutinize her worthiness to be in my life. This was the most significant lesson gleaned from Lauren's act of deceit. Within a week, I instructed my lawyer to draft the divorce documents. I ensured she received nothing from me following all the turmoil she instigated in my life. I ensured that certain photographs and videos of her infidelity were disseminated in the media as a means of public shaming. I made sure to ruin any standing she had, making it challenging for her to secure employment elsewhere. I warned major corporations against hiring her. A private investigator was still monitoring her activities, ensuring I remained informed about her actions. I aimed to demonstrate to her how hard life would be without my presence. In retaliation for her infidelity, I ensured she faced difficulties in finding a home and was met with disrespect wherever she sought employment. However, she refused a joint divorce and requested alimony instead. Her audacious demands for financial support and property amused me. She even falsely claimed pregnancy to secure child support and property under the child's name. I presented evidence of her numerous encounters with multiple men to the judge, asserting that I had never been intimate enough to accept the child as mine without a DNA test. The court ordered a DNA test, which exposed her deceit about the pregnancy. Aside from the divorce proceedings, I filed a defamation suit against her. Desperate for mercy, she told the judge she lacked the means to pay me. Unwise of her to act dishonestly without considering the fallout. The past 3 months since our wedding have been turbulent, this narrative serving as a means to alleviate my distress. My quest for vengeance has tested me greatly, and there were moments when I felt too drained to persist. Lauren, whom I thought was exceptional among the women I've encountered, proved otherwise. Initially, she didn't appear money-hungry. However, her true intentions revealed themselves to be my financial resources and assets. Her reluctance to share a room from the start now makes sense. It would have been challenging for her to conceal her deceitful acts had we lived together. Although this revelation was painful, I am thankful for unmasking her true intentions before the situation became any more intricate. I find myself resonating deeply with the adage, "Love can be blind." For me, it was indeed devoid of both sight and trust. I am bracing myself for a difficult journey ahead. She not only destroyed my marriage, but also tarnished my good name. The stares I receive as I pass by people are filled with pity, and some even bear an expression of mockery, suggesting that I was deceived by a woman who was unfaithful while in my presence. The scrutiny and judgment from those around me are disheartening. The burden of betrayal is heavy, and I struggle to find my way through the wreckage left by this devastating revelation. I seek your collective advice and opinions to determine if my actions were justified and provide guidance on how I should navigate life moving forward. This traumatic event has left me questioning myself constantly. Any assistance or wisdom would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to read this.